safety kids, the safety kids, the safety kids. Playing it cool, we're the safety kids, the safety kids, the safety kids. Keeping the rules, we're gonna be around for a long, long time. The safety kids.
Welcome, Jaguar Scholars. Welcome, 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 welcome. I am Mrs. Tisha Wells, and
I am Miss Tracy Gerhart, school counselor for House BSU.
we are going to present a personal safety presentation just for you. We're going to talk about everything that's involved in being safety, not just in school, or being safe, not just in school, but even at home and in your communities. So sit back, scholars, and get ready for a great time. We want to make sure by the end of this presentation that you are thinking safe, you are working safe, and you are going to be safe.
So this lesson was developed with several American School Counseling Association mindsets and behaviors in mind. So we're going to address several, and those are belief and development of whole self, including a healthy balance of mental, social, emotional, and physical well-being, demonstrate personal safety skills, and demonstrate advocacy skills and ability to assert self when necessary.
Thank you, Ms. Gerhart. What is safety? What is it? Physical safety and emotional safety. What's the difference between the two? Physical safety is the absence of harm or injury to one's body. Emotional safety is the absence of harm or threat of harm to your mental well-being. So, scholars, it's very important for us to develop a sense of safety and calmness and happiness and security around ourselves daily.
Absolutely. So what can threaten your sense of safety? There are several behaviors that threaten your sense of safety, and those include physical abuse or violence, emotional abuse or bullying, teasing, and threatening, or sexual abuse, any unwanted sexual activity by one person on another.
Thank you, Ms. Gerhart. So, scholars, what makes a safe environment? What makes us safe? Feeling supported, being able to express yourself appropriately, not just to your teachers, but to your peers and your family members. And also having a trusted adult, somebody who you can confide in, who's going to provide you with the best, the best, the best advice and the safest advice. Feeling like you have a voice. It's always important to have someone you can talk to about your issues or concerns without being judged about what you may share. Also, having the space to relax and take care of yourself. As we have embarked in this virtual learning space, it's important for not just the teachers and the administrators, but also the students and families to have a safe space to relax and take care of yourself.
So now we're going to watch a video about healthy boundaries and strategies to maintain healthy boundaries.
Healthy boundaries.
When we were young, the adults in our lives set boundaries to keep us healthy and safe. They set our schedules for bedtimes and mealtimes, and they pretty much chose our friends, and even picked out the clothes we wore each day.
But now that we're teenagers, we have more to say about what we do and who we hang out with. We have a lot more freedom to choose. But with freedom comes responsibility. Instead of adults setting all the boundaries for our health and safety, we need to set some boundaries for ourselves.
Boundaries are the guidelines and limits we set for ourselves and our relationships. Boundaries help us stay healthy and safe, emotionally, socially, and physically.
Boundaries are like invisible fences that help define our place in the world. Our boundaries help us know what is good for our emotions, our relationships, and our bodies. Our boundaries help us take care of ourselves. Let's look at what boundaries might look like.
First, it's important to note our boundaries are as unique as we are. We all create our boundaries based on our values and our personalities and our relationships. So, how do you know what your boundaries are? By knowing yourself and your emotions.
When you're feeling comfortable, confident, and secure, you can be assured that your boundaries are in place. But when you notice that uncomfortable or queasy feeling in your stomach, one of your boundaries may have been crossed.
Let's take a look at some strategies for times when your boundaries may have been crossed. Strategy 1. Pay attention to your emotions and your body. Notice when you're feeling uncomfortable or your stomach isn't feeling quite right. That uneasy, uncomfortable feeling may be your body's way of sending you a message to put up a boundary and/or leave the situation.
Strategy 2, speak up. When a boundary has been crossed, it's important to let the other person know that you're feeling uncomfortable and want the behavior to stop. Boundaries help us create safe and healthy relationships.
A third strategy when you feel that your boundary may have been crossed and talking directly to the person didn't help is to talk with a trusted friend or adult. Talking to someone may help you think through the situation more clearly.
And strategy 4 is trust yourself. Remember, you're in charge of your emotions and your body. Trust yourself. If you think your boundary has been crossed, you're right, and you need to make adjustments to feel comfortable. This may include speaking to another trusted friend or adult and/or leaving or avoiding the situation.
We all have the right to set our own boundaries for the emotional and physical ways we interact with other people. Get to know yourself and your own boundaries, and then communicate your boundaries to others.
Healthy boundaries are an important way that we take care of ourselves.
Okay, so just to recap, the 4 strategies that they named for maintaining healthy boundaries are pay attention to your emotions in your body, speak up, talk to a trusted friend or adult, and trust yourself.
Healthy boundaries.
One second. All right. Thank you, Ms. Gerhardt. Signs of an unsafe environment. So scholars, we want to make sure that you are able to recognize when you are in an unsafe situation. Number 1, anytime you see violence, not just towards you, but towards other people. Number 2, physical violence or threats, yelling or screaming, ridiculing or insulting you in front of other people, drugs and alcohol use, threats or bullying, lack of basic resources such as food, water, and cleanliness, and most importantly, disregard of boundaries. So scholars, these are different signs of unsafe environments. So let's practice here. What we're going to do is have a little exercise as it relates to boundaries and making sure that you are expressing your boundaries and others are clear about your boundaries. So in this exercise, you're going to think about the people and the boundaries in your life. Just think about people in general, your family, your close friends, your teachers. And what we're going to do is draw a picture that represents your boundaries. Now, boundaries are things that we don't want people to cross. And so it's important that we make sure that they're very clear about those boundaries. What you will need for this exercise is a blank sheet of paper and a pencil or color pencils of your choice. You're going to, again, draw a picture that represents your boundaries. I have 3 examples here that represents boundaries. The first example, as you can see, here it looks like an individual is standing here, and on this section here you see a line. And across the line, there's another individual standing here. Now, both individuals have stopped at the line, which means they're probably not supposed to cross that line. This is an example of boundaries. The second picture, you see an example of a stop sign and a sign that says think and act. These are also representation of boundaries. The last picture is a picture of a fence. And usually people have fences in their front yards and in their backyards. And we have these fences because we don't want people to enter our front yards or our backyards without our permission. These are examples of boundaries. So I'll give you a moment to think about what your physical representation of a boundary looks like. And be sure to illustrate that on your piece of paper. And I do ask that many of you volunteer to share with your classes about what your boundaries are.
Thank you, Ms. Wells. That was an awesome activity. And I hope you guys, had some insight with regard to that and had some productive discussions. So big concepts from this lesson. The big concept is that you have the personal power. You can recognize danger. You can say no. You can get help. And you can set boundaries for what people can and cannot do to you or make you feel.
Thank you, Ms. Gerhardt. So what can you do if you feel unsafe? Number one, tell a trusted adult. That includes a parent or parents, your teacher, family member. Talk to a friend, someone who you feel comfortable with, not someone who you really don't feel comfortable with. And you know that the minute that you share information with them, they will probably tell other people. Number three, call the police, 911. And also, if you observe someone being abused or neglected, or if you are being abused or neglected, you are to call Child Protective Services at 301-909-2450. It's very important that we make sure that we continue to connect with our peers and your friends during this time, because we're in this virtual space. It's very important that we just stay connected so we can continue to check on one another and make sure that others are safe.
So here we have contact information for the staff at William Wirt Middle School, because we are here to support you and keep you safe. So we have the email for Mrs. Semley, our principal. We have the email for Mrs. Ball-Lacey, our assistant principal for House HU. For Mr. Hall, our assistant principal for House BSU. Ms. Iliano, assistant principal for House NCA&T. And the email for Mr. Keenan, who was our assistant principal for House FAMU. We also have the emails for our professional school counselors, Mr. Quarles of House HU, Ms. Gerhardt, which is myself from House BSU, Ms. P. Holmes from NCA&T, and Ms. P. Jackson from FAMU.
Thank you, Ms. Gerhardt, for that information. Also, scholars, we have a number of support staff who are just willing and who are able to assist you with any situation that you may be encountering. Mrs. Mack, our peer mediator coordinator, Mrs. Meeks, our community schools coordinator, Ms. Ortiz, our student advocate, and Ms. M. Jones, our community school therapist, and Mrs. Wells, crisis intervention resource teacher, myself. You will find the information or email information here, so please, please contact us immediately if there's anything that you need to talk about or anything that you need to report.
So after watching this lesson, don't forget to complete and submit the personal safety lesson exit ticket.
That's right, scholars. So the only thing your teachers will have probably in the link for you in your classes and is to complete the safety lesson. So be sure to complete that and submit.
If you have any questions, please feel free to email us, and we will do our very best to help you.
Scholars, this concludes our presentation. We thank you. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to myself, Mrs. Wells, or Ms. Gearhart. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.